Hi, I'm Karen from Costa Rica. I'm a mindfulness trainer and also a yoga teacher. And I'm honored to be here with you sharing this live session. In the previous session, I talked about appreciation and how little things on a daily basis can make us happier. And the content I have about released today, it's all about how to stop being a victim. Does this sound familiar to you? Maybe you might know someone that feels a victim all the time. Or maybe you feel victim sometimes. Why not? This is part of being humans. So I want to share with you why emotions play such an important role in developing our mind, our behavior, and how we can change this mindset so we can observe our emotions and actually change our reality. So if you're ready, I am ready. In society, it's not okay to feel what you feel. We often hear, since we are little, we have a tendency to reject our emotions are bad or wrong. Many of us are told things like, don't cry, or there is nothing to be sad about, right? So this can lead to some self-harming behaviors. For example, victimizing ourselves all the time. And we tend to escape from those feelings through alcohol, drugs, compulsive sex, and also even eating disorders, and so on. The reasons can be many. So all emotions can be positive in some contexts and negative in others, regardless of whether they are pleasant or unpleasant. And why is that? Well, experiences in our early years play a great role in the development of our mind and our behaviors. The emotional patterns that we learn as small children live on the cells, on our minds, and come back to us as adults. So normally we experience unpleasant emotions when we are growing up, such as anger, hatred, jealousy, and we recognize those emotions as negative. So since all negative play a resistance triggers that body emotional pain, which Eckhart Tolle used to call the body pain. And this one, it's related to the ego. Okay, so sometimes such a small, unimportant situation can produce an intense negativity, such anger, depression, or deep sadness. Sometimes the ego believes that through negativity, it can manipulate reality and get what it wants. For example, getting the attention of others, eliminating the feeling of abandonment, which is pretty normal, trying to feel loved and accepted. And here's the thing, by trying to numb those emotions as adults, we only cause more damage. The negativity does not work. Instead of dissolving this undesirable situation, just keep it in place. Once you unconsciously identify with negativity, this develops more negativity in your mind. So it's like a magnet. Whatever you focus the energy on, that's what you will attract. So once you understand this negativity in an unconscious level, let's say your ego mind don't want the positive change. Why? Because this will threaten the identity of the ego as a depressed person, as an angry person, as a difficult person, at the end, as a victim. So this is precisely what we are trying to stop, right? We want to stop treating ourselves as victims and change ourselves to a better mindset. So you might be asking, and how can I change my reality? Well, the key is to observe your emotions. Allow yourself to process and experience your true feelings, not to stop them, not to reject them. Just observe and process and accept those true feelings. And I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why we should do that. First, when you're trying to numb the negative emotions like sadness, you also numb happiness and joy. As human beings, we are able to have a range of emotions. Things like waves in the ocean. They come and go, they rise and fall. No feeling is forever. They come and go all the time. This is the nature. So anger and sadness are necessary as they are gifts that help us grow. So that's why we shouldn't reject the negative, as we call negative emotions. Number 2, struggling with your emotions lead to more suffering. So when you try to fight your feelings, this often leads to more and more suffering. As I mentioned before, it's like a magnet that keeps attracting the negative emotions towards your brain. So using these negative behaviors and try like sex, alcohol, bad eating habits, this will only numb your feelings and might be a release, a temporary release. You might feel good for some time, but these behaviors do not fix the root of the problem, right? So number 3, processing and experience your feelings is part of having a full life. When we are focused on numbing our negative feelings rather than processes them and using, healthy strategies, we prevent ourselves from living a full and meaningful life. So when we try to suppress these emotions, we are unable to thrive. Now, I want to share how to observe and accept your emotions. So this is the main steps that I would like to share with you, how to change those negative behaviors and convert them into positive experiences. Are you ready? Let's start. Step number 1, identify the emotion. What happens if you are having a situation where you're facing many emotions at the time? Okay, I want you to focus on one emotion at a time, or the one that is bothering you more, okay? And you're gonna work in a mindful way and you're gonna observe them. Notice the emotions that you experience and when you feel them in your body. Let's say I'm feeling sadness and I feel it in my chest, okay? And when I identify that sadness, I'm gonna write it down in a piece of paper, okay? That's step number 1. Step number 2, getting some space. So we're gonna try to cultivate a curious and non-judgmental state. We're gonna observe with neutrality that emotion. And as we observe the emotion, let's say you put that sadness in front of you, you are not going to identify with that emotion anymore. Okay, so you understand that emotions are part of your life, but not are all your life. So you're gonna observe that emotion, you're gonna give some distance to it, and just see what happens. Sometimes emotions are messengers, which might bring some important information that we need to pay attention to. So that's why we need to observe. So let's say if you feel with anger and resentment towards a partner, for example. Often these feelings of resentment are the results of someone not respecting your boundaries. So it's an indication that you are not effectively communicating your needs. So every emotion is a messenger. Learn how to observe the emotions with neutrality and see what comes up. Step number 3, give emotion a form. So if your emotion, it's that sadness in your chest, see how it feels. It feels like a stone. It feels like a shadow. It might feel like a knife. And then try to go deeper and see if that emotion have a color. For example, it's gray, it's dark blue, it's black. And then try to feel the emotion. Whatever it is in your body, try to feel the emotion and see how it feels. Okay? So you give the emotion a form. And once you answer these questions, imagine the emotion out in front of you with the size and the shape and the color that you gave it. And number 4, once you do this exercise, then you take a moment to reflect on what you notice out of your experience. How do you feel about that emotion? And that is where the magic happens. You might start feeling different about that emotion. Maybe it's not so negative at the end. Maybe there is a great lesson to learn about that emotion. So if you practice this, you see, it's not a hard thing. If you practice this exercise once a day, after a month, see if you notice any changes in how you relate to your emotions. You might be surprised how can we change our reality by becoming more present to our emotions and their teachings. I want to share a very important and last message to you today. The role of the emotion is to keep it out, that which is dangerous, unhealthy, uncomfortable, and allow in that which is helpful and healing. So we have anger and aversion in one side, and we can have love and attraction in the other side. So as human beings, we have this immense potential of feeling waves of emotions, from bad to good to negative to positive, whatever you want to call them. They are all visitors. They come and go. The problem is when we attach to one of them. And that attachment is from the ego that doesn't want to release that old pattern of victimhood. And when the ego attached to that emotion, this creates suffering. So whenever you feel suffering, remember, it's not yourself. It's the ego that makes you suffer. Your full self, your higher self, the divine within you, is capable of all things, all possibilities, no limitations whatsoever. So that's my message for today. If you enjoyed this session, please share on your network so more people can benefit out of this information. Thank you so much for accompanying me in this session, and please stay tuned for more sessions like this. See you next time.